Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started.
Roman Reigns has been at odds with the Vision since its formation. The villainous faction has repeatedly targeted the OTC1, seizing every opportunity to neutralize him. Since Reigns' schedule only allows him to make sporadic appearances, WWE may need to put someone else in his spot, someone who could cover for his absence. The top contender for that spot might be Jey Uso. The Yeet Master is another name that has been on the receiving end of multiple beatdowns at the hands of the Vision. The former WWE World Heavyweight Champion has stood side by side with Roman Reigns in his battle against the heel group. The OG Bloodline members defeated Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed in a tag team showdown in the opening contest of SummerSlam Night 1. The Tribal Chief was taken out by Seth Rollins' faction this past Monday on WWE Raw. While Reigns managed to get the upper hand in a 3-on-1 situation in the beginning, he was soon overwhelmed by the numbers game and succumbed to the wrath of the Vision. All three members hit their respective finishers on Roman, who was left lying in the middle of the ring, writhing in pain. This vicious attack would cause Reigns to miss the next edition of the Red Brand Show, as he is not scheduled to make an appearance. In his absence, Jey Uso would have to step up to Seth Rollins and his faction. Roman's absence might end up being a blessing in disguise for the Yeet Master, as he could have an opportunity to show fans that he can hold his own in the main event scene. Since losing the WWE World Heavyweight title to Gunther on the June 9 episode of Raw, Jey Uso has somewhat gotten lost in the shuffle. While he is still a central part of the weekly programming, fans can't help but notice his demotion from the main event scene to the upper mid-card scene. Whenever Roman Reigns is on the show, it is hard for anyone else to compete with the OTC1 when it comes to the spotlight. However, with Roman's limited appearances, he leaves a void on the show that hardly gets filled. That's why WWE may need to push Jey Uso into that role whenever the Tribal Chief is off duty. When is Roman Reigns' next appearance in WWE? While fans won't see the OTC1 next week, he will be back on the August 18 episode of Raw. Roman Reigns is set to compete at Clash in Paris on August 31, and he will appear on the last two episodes of Raw, August 18 and August 25, before the premium live event. However, after the PLE, fans might not see Roman for a while, as he will be shooting for his role in the upcoming live-action Street Fighter movie. Reigns will play the character of Akuma in the film. He is reportedly set to shoot his scenes from September 2 to 26. Before he goes on another hiatus, fans are excited to see what Roman Reigns will do in the coming weeks. WWE needs to put this former world champion in Roman Reigns' spot till he's back. The Tribal Chief's throne has been empty for far too long. Roman Reigns, the cornerstone of WWE's modern era, has been absent from SmackDown since his grueling battle at SummerSlam, leaving the Bloodline story in a strange state of limbo. Solo Sikoa may be trying to step up, Paul Heyman is still whispering schemes, and Jimmy Uso is doing, well, whatever Jimmy Uso does, but the aura, the gravitas, the presence of Roman is unmatched. And that's the problem. The longer Roman is away, the more fans notice the void. The head of the table isn't there to glare into the hard camera, dictate the pace of the show, or carry that Universal Championship like it's a crown forged by destiny. So what can WWE do? They can't just create another Roman Reigns overnight, but they can place a proven main eventer into that spot temporarily, someone who commands respect, has the credibility to lead, and most importantly, can carry the blue brand until Roman's inevitable return. That man is Seth freaking Rollins. Why Seth Rollins is the perfect temporary Tribal Chief? First off, Rollins is no stranger to being the guy. A two-time WWE Champion, two-time Universal Champion, and a Grand Slam Champion, Seth's resume reads like a Hall of Fame plaque in progress. He's headlined WrestleMania, carried Raw through injury crises, and delivered classics against everyone from Brock Lesnar to Cody Rhodes. The key difference? Seth's versatility. Unlike Roman, whose current character thrives on dominance and minimal in-ring appearances, Rollins thrives on doing everything. He's charismatic on the mic, captivating in the ring, and already one of WWE's biggest merchandise movers. With Roman gone, Seth could slide into that lead spot without fans feeling like the show had downgraded. In fact, his high-energy performances could be a welcome change of pace, while still preserving Roman's mystique for when he returns. A built-in story with the Bloodline. What makes Rollins a genius choice is his history with Roman. They've been brothers in the Shield, bitter enemies, and rivals for supremacy in WWE. That tension is still simmering under the surface. Imagine Paul Heyman, desperate to keep the bloodline relevant, approaching Rollins with an offer. "Seth, my tribal chief needs an interim leader. You have the resume. You have the aura. You have my blessing. For now." Rollins wouldn't be joining the bloodline in the traditional sense. Instead, he could be portrayed as the mercenary champion keeping Roman's seat warm, but with the unspoken implication that maybe, just maybe, he likes sitting there a little too much. Keeping SmackDown hot until Roman returns. Let's be real, the big money match is still Roman Reigns' eventual return. WWE doesn't want to overshadow that, but they also can't have months of mid-card main events while waiting. Rollins stepping into the role allows for blockbuster matches right now. Seth Rollins vs Solo Sikoa, a battle for bloodline control, with Heyman caught in the middle. Rollins vs AJ Styles, no title needed, just a dream match for SmackDown ratings. Rollins vs LA Knight, the megastar vs the visionary, both fighting for the top spot. Each of these would keep the audience buzzing, while subtly weaving in the threat of Roman's eventual return to reclaim what's his. The heel or face question. The best part? Rollins doesn't even need to change his alignment drastically. His current visionary character works perfectly as a tweener, someone fans cheer because he's so good, but who's still cocky enough to feel like a threat. By keeping him morally ambiguous, WWE can set the stage for either. Roman vs Rollins, face vs heel, Roman comes back as the conquering villain reclaiming his territory from a crowd favorite. Roman vs Rollins, heel vs heel, two egos clashing, with the crowd split on who's the real top dog. Either way, the promos alone would be must-watch. A temporary title switch? If WWE really wanted to make this work, they could even pull the trigger on a temporary title switch. Rollins could win the undisputed Universal Championship in Roman's absence, perhaps in a controversial fashion where Paul Heyman authorizes it to protect the brand's prestige. This creates endless drama for Roman's return. Did Seth betray his brother? Did Heyman overstep his bounds? Is the bloodline even still Roman's to command? When Roman finally comes back, he's not just fighting for a belt, he's fighting for his legacy. The business side. Beyond storyline logic, this move makes sense financially. Rollins is already one of WWE's top merch sellers, and his flamboyant outfits, entrance sing-alongs, and meme-worthy moments make him a social media goldmine. By giving him the SmackDown spotlight, WWE ensures they have a marketable face of the brand even without Roman. This also buys them time to continue building other stars like LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, and Carmelo Hayes without rushing them into a spot they're not ready for. Roman's return would feel even bigger. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, and nothing fuels a return pop like having a temporary replacement to boo or cheer in the meantime. If Seth thrives in Roman's role, it creates a delicious tension. Part of the audience will want Roman back immediately, while another part might start saying, "You know, I kinda like Rollins in this spot." That's when WWE strikes. Roman's music hits, the crowd explodes, and the real tribal chief steps back into his kingdom, ready to humble the usurper who dared sit in his chair. Roman Reigns has been the most dominant champion of this generation, but WWE can't afford for his absence to stall the entire product. Seth Rollins offers the perfect balance of credibility, charisma, and connection to Roman's legacy to carry that torch, temporarily, without burning out the story. And when Roman finally comes back to reclaim his throne, the showdown will be nothing short of epic. Until then, WWE should remember, sometimes, the best way to keep the kingdom alive is to let another king rule. For just a little while. If you want, I can also follow this up with a Fantasy SmackDown segment where Heyman actually makes this proposal to Seth Rollins in front of the crowd, setting up the first confrontation. That could make it feel even more like a real WWE storyline. Roman Reigns tipped to leave WWE and focus on inevitable new career by top director. Roman Reigns has been tipped to eventually move away from WWE and focus on a new career. The OTC is one of WWE's biggest stars in the modern era and has been part of the most intriguing storylines over the last few years. However, with Reigns being less active than before, there is a question over his future in WWE. A few weeks ago, he made his return to the promotion for the first time since WrestleMania 41 in mid-April. A reduced schedule and health issues have kept Reigns from being a full-timer in WWE. Moreover, of late, the Tribal Chief has found a new calling in Hollywood. After his appearance in the Fast and Furious spin-off Hobbs & Shaw, Reigns hasn't had many acting opportunities, but that is slowly changing. He has been cast as Akuma in the live-action Street Fighter film, and he recently made a cameo appearance in Amazon Prime Video's action comedy, The Pickup. Now, in an interview with Screen Off Script, The Pickup director, Tim Story, shared his experience of working with Roman Reigns. "It was fantastic. We did a Zoom and just discussed what the role could be and we just hit it off. When we were able to figure out his, Roman Reigns, schedule and get him in here, it was really cool. Just in the small scene that you saw, I think you can see that this guy could be a star, man. He's got some presence. I don't want to say I was surprised, but it's one of those things where you smile and go, this guy could be a star, man," Tim Story said. From 010 to 038. Story was then asked about Reigns making the transition from pro wrestling to movies. The director called it inevitable and said that he should be doing more movies. "I think 1, it's inevitable and 2, it's time. Just in my small time working with him, this guy, I mean he's incredible. So, I think, I'm almost a little bit like, what took so long? Like now that I know him and know what he can do. He should be making movies," he added. From 050 to 110. Roman Reigns had a cameo appearance in the movie as an MMA champion, who is a photoshoot with the money that a criminal mastermind, Keke Palmer, wants to steal. According to Tim Story, Reigns should be focusing on doing more movies, which would eventually mean even less time in WWE. Roman Reigns to be a part of WWE's European tour. On the last edition of Monday Night Raw, Roman Reigns appeared after the main event to attack Seth Rollins and his faction. However, he was overwhelmed by the numbers game and ended up taking 3 tsunamis from Bronson Reed. While it was believed to be a way of riding the head of the table off TV, it looks like he will be making a few appearances in the coming weeks. The former WWE champion is scheduled to appear on the August 18th edition of Raw in Philadelphia. He is also being advertised for Raw in Birmingham, UK, on August 25th, to build up to the Clash in Paris Premium Live event. While Roman Reigns' move to Hollywood might be inevitable, for now, WWE fans get to see him in action on a more regular basis. The sound of his entrance music still shakes arenas, the sight of him still draws a sea of raised arms in acknowledgement, but behind the scenes, a different story is beginning to unfold. Roman Reigns, WWE's tribal chief and the man who has dominated sports entertainment for over a decade, is at the center of whispers that have nothing to do with championship gold or bloodline betrayals. Those whispers gained volume this week when renowned Hollywood director Marcus Vail, known for blending blockbuster spectacle with deep character-driven narratives, openly declared in an interview that Roman Reigns is inevitably going to step away from WWE to conquer a new arena, the silver screen. "I've seen this happen before with icons," Vail told The Hollywood Times. Dwayne Johnson, John Cena. They all had that crossover energy. But with Roman, it's different. He doesn't just have charisma, he has a cinematic presence. He doesn't walk into a room, he enters like it's the opening shot of a film. It's inevitable that his career path will lead him here. Wrestling might have been his launch pad, but film is where he'll end up cementing his legacy. The statement was bold, but it hit a nerve. Roman's fans are fiercely loyal, yet they've also noticed subtle changes, a reduced wrestling schedule, more high-profile media appearances, and that quiet but undeniable look in his eyes when the subject of acting comes up. A spark from Fast and Furious. This isn't the first time Roman has dipped his toes in Hollywood's waters. His cameo in Fast and Furious Presents, Hobbs and Shaw alongside his cousin, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, was short but impactful. In fact, Vail admitted that scene was one of the first moments that made him see Roman as a future star beyond the ring. "You could tell he wasn't just reciting lines," Vail said. "He was living them." Some actors take years to learn that ability to convey power without words. Roman already has it. That's why he's dangerous, in the best possible way, for Hollywood. And while his character in the film was a supporting role, the WWE Universe remembers the buzz it generated. Suddenly, articles were speculating about his next big role, fans were editing movie posters with his face, and talent agents began circling the Bloodline story as a cinematic epic. Interestingly, Vail credits Roman's Bloodline storyline in WWE as proof of his readiness for film. Watch him during those in-ring promos, the way he paces, the way he pauses before delivering a line, the facial expressions. That's not just wrestling showmanship, that's dramatic acting. If you strip away the ropes in the ring, you've got a man capable of leading a multi-million-dollar production. Vail even went so far as to say the Bloodline saga could be adapted into a series or film, with Roman as both the lead actor and executive producer. The politics, The family ties, the betrayals, it's basically The Godfather in wrestling boots, he said. If Roman ever decided to develop that, it could rival some of the greatest crime dramas out there. Roman's silence speaks volumes. When asked about Vail's prediction, Roman remained characteristically guarded. At a WWE press conference last week, a reporter directly asked if Hollywood was in his future. The tribal chief simply smirked, leaned into the microphone, and said, "When you're the head of the table, you don't chase opportunities. Opportunities come to you." It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no either. And for a man known for controlling his own narrative, that answer felt like an intentional tease. Behind the scenes, sources claim Roman's WWE contract includes flexibility clauses allowing him to take outside projects, the same kind of clauses that gave The Rock and John Cena freedom to make their Hollywood breakthroughs. Insiders believe Roman is already fielding offers, and Vail's public endorsement could accelerate the process. A potential farewell, but not goodbye. If Roman were to leave WWE, it likely wouldn't be an immediate, abrupt exit. Industry insiders predict a phased transition where he reduces his wrestling appearances further, focusing only on major events like WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Saudi Arabia shows, while filming movies in between. Vail suggested this could actually increase Roman's value in WWE. Scarcity breeds demand. Imagine Roman showing up only 3 or 4 times a year, it turns every appearance into an unmissable event. That's exactly what The Rock did, and it worked wonders for both his wrestling and acting careers. Hollywood's plans for Roman. As for the types of roles Vail envisions, he didn't hold back. Roman could carry a gladiator epic tomorrow. He could headline a sci-fi action franchise. Heck, he could even pull off a serious Oscar-contending drama if he wanted to. People underestimate his emotional range because they see him as this stoic, dominant champion. But I've seen moments in his WWE work, like when he fought his cousin Jey Uso at Hell in a Cell, where the vulnerability was right there, just beneath the surface. That's what great actors have. One unconfirmed report claims Vail has already drafted a script for a gritty revenge thriller with Roman in mind for the lead role. If that's true, and Roman accepts, the WWE Universe could see their tribal chief debut as a full-fledged Hollywood leading man within the next 2 years. The fans react. Fan reaction has been mixed. On social media, hashtags like #RomanToHollywood and #StayInWay trended simultaneously. Some celebrated the idea. "Roman Reigns is already the biggest name in wrestling, time to conquer the movies," tweeted one fan. Others were heartbroken. "I didn't survive 1,200 days of tribal chief dominance just to lose him to Hollywood," posted another, adding a crying gif. The Rock's influence. There's also the shadow of The Rock in all of this. Roman's cousin made the leap from WWE to Hollywood so successfully that he became one of the highest-paid actors in the world. Vail believes Roman's career could follow a similar, but not identical, path. Dwayne leaned into being the charming action hero. Roman could go darker, more intense. He could be the next great anti-hero, someone who owns the screen with quiet menace and commanding gravitas. The final word. For now, Roman Reigns remains WWE's head of the table. But the tides in his career may already be shifting. Hollywood is calling, and according to Marcus Vail, the call is not one that can, or should, be ignored. It's not about leaving wrestling behind, Vail concluded. It's about evolution. Roman Reigns isn't just a WWE superstar. He's a storyteller, a performer, a presence. And the next chapter of his story is going to be told on the biggest stage of all, the big screen. If Vail's prediction comes true, the WWE Universe might soon have to share their tribal chief with millions of moviegoers worldwide. And in typical Roman Reigns fashion, he'll make sure both worlds acknowledge him. If you want, I can also create a follow-up piece imagining Roman's first major movie role and how WWE writes his exit storyline so it ties into the Bloodline saga. That could give it a full cinematic feel.